grid order. No overtaking, of course. It's like a mid-race safety car period. They have to hold station. I think everybody is probably sussed it's a wet track by now. They're all on the wet Hankook tyres. And so let's see how many laps this takes out of the 19. It could well end up, this race, in fact, going to the time rather than the number of laps, 35 minutes being the maximum. And so as the 15-second board is shown, engine notes just start to rise. The cars are going to be released in a moment. So the championship leader, Raffaele Marciello, is the one to watch when we go racing. Lucas Auer, Pascal Wehrlein, second and third yesterday. It was Will Buller who finished fourth, Harry Tinknell fifth, Felix Saraya sixth, Jordan King was seventh, Alex Lynn eighth yesterday, Dennis van der Laar ninth, and Eddie Cheever 10th. That's the championship situation. And Lucas Auer bogs down on the grid. Has he got away? Yes, he has just about. Now, he should, because not everybody went past him, be able to retake his rightful grid position. So the cars accelerate off down towards the first chicane. And the drivers, of course, now not only having to try to get a bit of warmth into the tyres, not only trying to assess the track conditions, they are also having to contend with the spray. It's pretty bad now. It's going to be so much worse when they go racing. So the race is on. This is the start of round 2 of the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. This year, it's a completely standalone series. Last year, there was a European Championship, and it was made up of selected F3 Euro Series rounds and rounds of the British Championship. But for 2013, it has a 30-race calendar. And that is exactly what Gerhard Berger, the president of the FIA Single-Seater Commission, wanted. And the championship, beginning here in Monza, moves next to Silverstone. It then goes to Hockenheim, to Brands Hatch. It goes to the Red Bull Ring in Austria, to the Norris Ring and the Nürburgring, then to Holland and Zandvoort, Hockenheim, and it ends at Paul Ricard in late October. So some great venues for the drivers. One of whom, of course, is not going to be doing the whole season, and that is Pascal Wehrlein, because he has, in the last few days, been announced as a DTM racer, taking the seat to be vacated by Ralf Schumacher. So Wehrlein has really nothing to lose this weekend. It was looking as though he would be a shoo-in for 3 race wins, given his pace in qualifying. That pop start yesterday certainly didn't help life, but he would like to go out of Formula 3 this weekend with at least 1 win, that's for sure. So the cars on this opening lap of the race, working their way through the Lesmo curves down towards the Variante Ascari, the yellow flags, of course, being waved by the marshals. And yesterday's race was a very lively one indeed. It certainly dispelled the theory that Formula 3 cars can't overtake. Around Monza, where they can slipstream, and it's a nice wide circuit as well in parts, we had some tremendous racing. And what was really heartening was that when certain drivers lost a place, straight away they tried to retaliate. And in the case of Jordan King, Felix Saraya, Tom Blomqvist, Felix Rosenqvist, and others, they were able to get the place back. So you had genuine trading of place, genuine fights for position all the way through the race. The only guy that had an easy time yesterday was Raffaele Marciello. And a lot of the hard work was done because of an absolutely demon start that got him through a gap in the middle of the 2 slightly slower away front row drivers. He got the lead at the first chicane and was never headed. Mechanics busy in the pit lane. Safety car boards being shown all around the circuit. From where we are on the start and finish line and looking down onto the starter's gantry, just looking to see if there's a green flag in his hand, but not yet, there's not. We should get an indication from the race director as to when the safety car comes in, but it may be prudent to leave them out there for a lap or 2, just so they can really assess the conditions. Down to the famous Parabolica they come. Safety car heads the pack. Pascal Wehrlein then turns his way through the right-hander. If it's a start this time, the safety car will peel to the right. I have a feeling we might get another lap out of this behind the safety car, but all is about to be revealed as the field works its way out of the Parabolica, up over the timing line. In a moment they will come. And as the yellow flags still fly, the safety car is still out there. So therefore, it's at least 1 more lap under these safety car conditions. 1 lap completed. Race order is grid order. And that therefore means that Lucas Auer has got his 3rd place back, and Pascal Wehrlein is the race leader, such as it matters at the moment. But of course, overtaking is going to be affected more not by the aero of the cars, but by the spray. And of course, to go and do any overtaking, you've got to go offline, where it's going to be even more slippery. So it could well be a very different kind of a race because of those factors alone compared to what we had yesterday. Just looking down the order, Felix Rosenqvist made rather heavy work of gaining places yesterday. He starts 7th for this. He's somebody you should expect to make some progress, I would have thought, once we go racing. But inevitably, there's going to be a real scrum getting through that first chicane. If you can survive that, then you're going to be okay. But yesterday, not everybody did survive it. And there were quite a few cars with damage after that. You saw a spare nose cone being readied by the Fortec team a moment ago. And that's for Pipo Derani, number 12, who yesterday got himself involved in quite a few scrapes, but he did race hard, elbows out. Pipo Derani, another ex-British F3 Championship racer. But you can see how foul the conditions are here at Monza. Just a word about Jan Mardenborough, because he, starting 17th on the grid, is a name that if you follow GT racing you'll be familiar with. A winner in the British Championship last year in his first season of racing. He's the winner, one of the winners of the Nissan GT PlayStation Academy, and drove on occasions in the Blancpain Endurance Series and did the full British GT Championship last year. In fact, went to the last round in with the chance of winning the championship. Well, he switches to single-seaters for this year. He's raced in the Toyota Racing Series in New Zealand over the winter. Now comes to Formula 3 and did a lot better in the first race yesterday than people expected, with all due deference to Jan Mardenborough. It's a very different type of race car from that he spent his time in last year, but he raced really well. Then, late race, got involved in a skirmish, and the net result was that it dislodged the front wing, which went under the car. The damage put him out of the race. But it's a great shame that, because he certainly did look impressive yesterday. So Jan Mardenborough, who, when the race gets underway, will have Sven Muller as his first target. Sven Muller in qualifying on Friday, very spectacular indeed. Admittedly, it was in the dry, but the way he went through the Variante Ascari, no curb was safe from Sven Muller. So in these conditions, is he going to be any more or less spectacular? Still the rain falls, still track conditions are foul, and we're on lap 2 of what is either going to be 19 or 35 minutes. So as the drivers work their way down towards the Parabolica, another driver who was certainly aggressive yesterday was the young Italian in only his 9th car racing weekend, and that is Antonio Giovinazzi, racing at this level for the first time. He had 1 or 2 incidents, and then on the last lap tagged Sven Muller into a spin. He retired, although he didn't get to the flag. He was classified as a finisher on distance, but he was also given a time penalty for causing the accident. It didn't affect his position at all, but he was penalised for causing the incident. Giovinazzi, I think, has proved that he's quick, but maybe a little bit hot-headed, and that will, I'm sure, be worked out of him as he develops over the course of the season. But the raw speed was there yesterday, and certainly has proved to be a man to watch. He drives for R Racing, another of the British teams, moving to this European Championship. And of course, it's a rather different look to the British Championship for this year now. And off has gone Lucas Auer. So with broken suspension, that goes to show you just how treacherous it is, because under the safety car, Lucas Auer has lost it. He's bounced off the wall. He's broken the suspension. Let's have another look at it. He's the 3rd driver in the queue. Yes, weaving around to get warmth into the tyres, and it just snaps away from him. Round it goes, bang, into the wall, and that breaks the rear suspension on the car on the right rear corner, and Lucas Auer is out of the race effectively before it's begun. And that's a very red-faced accident to crash behind the safety car. You could say it wasn't his finest hour. So Lucas Auer out of the race, and his teammates are going to have to uphold Prema Powerteam's honour, one of whom, of course, Raffaele Marciello, ahead of him anyway on the grid. But for Lucas Auer, I'm afraid, although the conditions have caught him out, it's rather embarrassing because he's the only one that's fallen foul. Everybody else is coping as best they can, but Lucas Auer, after a really good drive yesterday, bangs it into the wall, and somebody's just gone up the escape road as well. Now, who was that? Because it looked as though that might have been Sven Muller, who was on the road behind Josh Hill. Saw Josh's distinctive crash helmet go through the frame, and the next one seemed to be up the escape road. And that, I suspect, was Sven Muller. Now, if people are crashing behind the safety car, this is something else for the race director to have a look at. But opposite me, a safety car board has just been withdrawn by the marshal on the starting gantry. So, fingers crossed, we will be in business this time, but not Lucas Auer, who's going to try and drag the car back to the pit lane. But I fear that's as far as it's going to go. So the yellow flags still wave. The clock is now what the teams are looking at rather than the number of laps, and 26 minutes of the 35 allocated to the race we now have. And the safety car board I told you had been withdrawn is being hung out again. And I suspect that is because the race director, conscious that people are crashing, has given the instruction, yes, 1 more safety car lap. So there'll be 1 more at the end of this to get racing underway. Pascal Wehrlein, perhaps, hoping that it finishes under a safety car as well, because then he's assured of the win with no overtaking. But it would be a rather unsatisfactory affair, that. Raffaele Marciello wants to get on with it. And, of course, now we're going to have a slightly different race order with Lucas Auer no longer a factor. Everybody behind him moves up 1 place. So that's going to put Tom Blomqvist 3rd, Alex Lynn 4th, Harry Tinknell 5th, and Felix Rosenqvist into the top 6. So the cars come out of the parabolica. 1 or 2 accelerating in the hope that it's going to be a start this time, but still the yellow flags wave. Still the safety car continues. So over the timing line now. Wehrlein it is that is the race leader from Marciello, and then, as I say, behind, everyone moves up 1 spot. Blomqvist, Lynn, Tincknell, Rosenqvist to round out the top 6. Behind them, Jordan King, Will Buller, Felix Zaraeus now 9th, and Mads Grenhagen is into the top 10. And just looking down, Sven Muller has kept his position, but I think it was him that went up the escape road. The best of anybody within sectors, Mitch Gilbert, last time around, just went faster than anybody in the first sector as he lagged back a bit and then tried to speed up and catch the train once again. So this, in theory, fingers crossed, is going to be the last safety car lap. Then we can go racing. Yesterday, of course, in the dry, without any safety car intervention at all, it was the full 19 laps. Today, it's going to be, as I say now, down against the clock, how many laps they can squeeze in the remaining 24 minutes and change, and you can see how that's counting down as the drivers work their way now on lap 4 behind the safety car. And the flag at the end of the race will go out the first time the leader crosses the line once those 35 minutes have elapsed. So although they know where the puddles are, although they know where there is or isn't any traction, they don't know what it's going to be like at proper race pace, and that's going to be the next challenge for them as a hugely despondent Lucas Auer clambers out of the car. Puts the steering wheel back on and has then got to go and explain to the team what he has done. They've seen it rather graphically and legitimately can point out that nobody else crashed behind the safety car. So as the yellow flags wave next time, they will be replaced, we hope, by green flags. We're still being told that this is the last safety car lap. The fastest lap of the race, incidentally, has been done by the man that's 22nd. I know these are spurious fastest laps, but Andre Rudersdorf is credited with being quicker than anybody else thus far. Lights out. So we are going to go racing this time. And Pascal Wehrlein is going to be the man who's got to control them up towards the timing line. Whoops! Drama kicks off behind. Is that Harry Tincknell who's gone onto the grass? It's certainly one of the Carlin cars. Slides his way back towards the circuit. I suspect, actually, in fairness, Jordan King it was that had to take evasive actions. Everybody else slowed right down. And Jordan King runs out of road. Slots back in now behind Felix Rosenqvist. So Jordan King, apologies Harry Tincknell, it was in the similarly liveried car that as everybody concertinaed up had to jink out. Safety car in this lap. So Pascal Wehrlein, quite a long way before the end of the lap, has got them all bunched up and in slowing them down. Creates 1 or 2 dramas. Now he starts to sprint away, but of course once you accelerate you've got to keep going. You can't accelerate and slow, otherwise it just gets hugely dangerous behind. And now look at the spray that is being generated. The only person with a clear view is, of course, the race leader. And so Pascal Wehrlein should make good his escape now. He comes out of the parabolica. We've got 22 minutes on the clock to go racing here in round 2 of the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. We're in business. The green flags fly. The race is definitely on now, and it's Wehrlein who leads down towards the first chicane. Raffaele Marciello trying to go with him. He's got to stay behind him to get the toe. He's got to pull out to try and see where he's going. Down towards the chicane for the first time under proper race conditions they go. Pascal Wehrlein, it is the race leader, but Marciello going with him. They turn right and then left through the very tight first chicane. They ignore the softer option to the left. And Marciello is certainly closing on the race leader as they sprint out of the chicane with Blomqvist third. And quite a gap has opened up already between second and third, that's for sure. Wehrlein it is, up front then. Chasing after him is Marciello. Blomqvist runs third. And then in the spray, Harry Tincknell looks as though he's managed to get ahead, yes he has, of Alex Lynn. Battles rage on lower down the order as well. Of course, if you get compromised coming out of the first chicane, then you're going to be easy prey for the guy behind who's got better momentum to gain a place. And peering through the gloom is far from easy to identify who's where. It's even harder for the drivers to identify where the apex is and where the braking points are. This is not a day to be a single-seater racing driver. Whoops, almost banging wheels there. Sven Muller being aggressive, getting past Eddie Cheever, and he's done so. Going out of the second chicane, and Cheever now in danger of losing another place. Jan Mardenborough trying to make ground as well as the leaders work their way towards us. And you can see that Wehrlein, Marciello come through. And in fact, if we had the change, we have by the look of it. Raffaele Marciello it is who leads the way then. So he's found a way past Pascal Wehrlein. And this is how it was all done. Wehrlein just runs out of road, going through the Lesmo curves, way wide into the gravel, gets back onto the circuit, and as he does so, Raffaele Marciello picks up the race lead. So Wehrlein yesterday chucked it away with a poor start. Now he's chucked away a lead with a mistake, and he runs wide again, coming out of the Variante Ascari. So Raffaele Marciello, given the lead, he would have found it very hard, I think, to have overtaken in these conditions, but it was just given to him on a plate as Pascal Wehrlein went off the road. And now Wehrlein is the one sitting in the spray, trying to pull out and see where he's going, down to the Parabolica. The race director will be keeping an eye on the conditions to make sure that they're still safe to race in as well. Coming out of the Parabolica then, this is the end of lap number 5 and 20 minutes remain of the race now. If Marciello can hang on in there to win for the second race of the weekend, it's really going to set him up very, very well, isn't it, for the championship, even so early in the season. 2 race wins, and there's another race to come at 4:05 local time this afternoon. Over the line they go. 1.3 seconds it is between Marciello and Wehrlein. Blomqvist is 3rd. Ticknell's up to 4th, as I say. Lynn is down to 5th. 6th is Felix Rosenqvist. 7th now is Will Buller, ahead of Jordan King, down to 8th. Mans Grenhagen up to 9th, and Felix Sarayes down to 10th position. Out of the chicane. Drivers being gentle with the application of the throttle as they sprint out of the corner. And this, a replay coming out of the Variante Ascari of Edelara spinning in the gloom. Now let's try and work out who's gone backwards, because we did have people losing places. Eddie Cheever down to 17th. I fear it was Eddie Cheever that had the spin. And Marciello trying to control a slide going into the chicane. He does so. And somebody else in strife is Lucas Wolf, and that's at the first chicane. And that actually was an assist, wasn't it? Because he was hit there. Yes, by Giovinazzi, who's got previous for bumping into people at the chicane this weekend. So the bright yellow RR racing car of Antonio Giovinazzi gets involved. Yesterday, Lucas Wolf, coming out of that chicane, found himself pitched into the barriers. It is not, thus far, a great weekend for Lucas Wolf, but I think he has been able to rejoin. Let's see whether he can gain any place. He's back now. Another little fight developing. Will Buller coming under pressure. Will Buller with the T-Sport Run, Nissan-powered car, and certainly raced very, very well yesterday. He got past Harry Tinknell late race for 4th place, and Will Buller always a man to watch. Out of the Variante Ascari have gone the race leaders. There you saw going through Felix Rosenqvist, and behind, battles rage on. Will Buller coming under pressure. Slithering his way back onto the straight. He's worked his way past Alex Lynn as they go down towards the Parabolica, and Lynn starting to drop away. I know the conditions are foul, but Alex normally can race very, very well, whether it's wet or dry, but at the moment he's going backwards. Down through the Parabolica come the race leaders, then up to complete lap number 6. Side by side here as Buller fends off the challenge of Lynn on the outside line. Alex Lynn had a long, long look. Will Buller runs to the very, very outside of the track, hunting for traction. It works for him. Buller is ahead still as they come up towards the line. Felix Rosenqvist then up into 5th. And we're getting a replay here of Sven Muller going off at his favourite chicane. It was there in the dry that he was attacking every curb on Friday. This time he's just gone straight through the middle of the Variante Ascari. And what does that do to his track position? Actually, nothing at all. Keeps him 14th. But now he's got even grubbier tyres. Now the challenge is made down at the first chicane. That's Jordan King trying to fend off Mans Grenhagen. King in the Carlin car, the blue and white livery, gets a slightly slower exit. Grenhagen looking for traction, can't find a way through. That's for 8th place. Jordan King fends him off. Mans Grenhagen right up behind him. Ahead is this battle between Buller and Lynn, who lost 2 places on that last lap. Felix Rosenqvist, therefore, up into 5th place. It's still Raffaele Marciello for Prema Powerteam leading the way. He's done the fastest lap of the race now, a 2 minutes 10. And bear in mind that the pole time was 1 minute 45. As there, look, up the inside goes Grenhagen, and that puts him ahead of Jordan King. That puts him 8th at the second chicane, slides up onto the curb as the power comes in. King fights back, King retakes the place. This is just what he did yesterday in a great battle with Felix Sarayes, and now he's doing it against Mans Grenhagen. Jordan King with great racecraft this weekend. Michele Cerruti's in strife at the chicane as well. The very distinctive pink livery on the Romeo Ferrari's car. A team completely new to Formula 3. Haven't even got a car to shake down 8 weeks ago. Very late team to join in the championship. And Michele Cerruti has a spin and drops even further away from the leaders. 16 more minutes of powerboating to go as Will Buller worked his way to the Variante Ascari. Alex Lynn behind him. So this is 6th and 7th you're looking at, but behind them is the charging Grenhagen. He didn't get a lap in yesterday, but Grenhagen is going great guns today. The lead gap was 1.9 seconds last time, and to the eye, Wehrlein looks a little bit closer. He was slower in the first sector, but quicker in the second. So can he come back at the leader? Of course, the closer he gets, the less he can see, because he ends up being sat in the spray. Up towards the line now comes Marciello. 7 laps are completed by the Italian, who now lives in Maranello, and Pascal Wehrlein has just done the fastest lap of the race. Yes, 0.3, give or take, quicker than the race leader. So the gap is coming down. Tom Blomqvist is a very lonely third. 4th is Harry Tinknell, but he's being caught a bit now by Felix Rosenqvist. And in 6th place is Will Buller. And Buller is lapping quicker than the 2 ahead of him. So just like yesterday, Buller is a man to watch because he's starting to close on the cars ahead of him. Raffaele Marciello continues to hold sway up front. The lead, 1.6 seconds down a little bit. Are conditions looking any less bad? No, they're still pretty foul, aren't they? And Pascal Wehrlein closing up onto that ball of spray ahead of him. To the second chicane they come. The left and then the right. The top 2 go through, Marciello and Wehrlein. And at the end of sector 1, Marciello has pulled away once again. Blomqvist is there 3rd, dropping away. 4th is Tinknell. 5th is Felix Rosenqvist. And then behind them there, the white car of Will Buller, who's just done a personal best in that first sector. And that makes him on this lap the 2nd fastest driver within the first sector. In other words, he's lapping a good bit quicker than everybody ahead of him bar the race leader. And that is Nicholas Latifi, not for the first time, discovering parts of Monza he's not meant to be using. Look down onto the pit straight from where we are, and I would suggest that the conditions are getting worse rather than better, in fact. So the drivers still have this massive fight on their hands to keep the cars on the track. Raffaele Marciello, though, is doing a stellar job at the moment, as we have a replay of more dramas at the second chicane. That's one of the Mücke Motorsport cars, getting way airborne there. Mitch Gilbert, the Australian, higher than the front row of a Bob Marley concert, that, as he launched himself over the curb, crash lands onto the ground. Puncture put him out of the race yesterday at that part of the circuit, but Mitch Gilbert continues, at least for now. Whether he can go to the end without any damage being a legacy of that, we'll have to wait and see as the leaders work their way down now towards the Parabolica. Again, to the eye, Pascal Wehrlein looks a little bit nearer. Let's see whether the timing agrees with that theory. 1.6 seconds it was last time as Marciello goes through. Prema Powerteam ahead of Mücke Motorsport. Both these cars with Mercedes engines. The gap is down again. Yes, another best lap of the race to Pascal Wehrlein. The gap is now 1.4 seconds as they come down towards the first chicane. So Wehrlein is closing. Marciello now is starting to feel a bit more of the pressure. But even if Wehrlein can catch him, he then has this very difficult task of finding a way through, partly because of the spray, partly because he's got to go offline to get past where it's even wetter and even more treacherous. So Marciello powers on, looks in his mirrors, all he sees is spray. Hopefully the team will be able to get the message to him that Wehrlein is closing. But now Marciello responds because he's just done the best of anybody in the first sector. Off the road there is Felix Sarayes, goes up the escape road that I think is at the first chicane, slaloms his way around the bollards and gets back onto the circuit. And the reason he got there was missed his braking point at the end of the straight. And rather than fight the car and risk a spin, he goes up the escape road. Now, either conditions are getting a bit better or drivers are getting a lot more heat into the tyres and they are working better now because in almost every sector, people are setting improvements. Lap after lap, the times are getting quicker. Of course, the fuel load is coming down as well now to make a lighter car go faster. But generally, the pace is picking up in this second round of the championship. We've got 12 more minutes of it to go. And the race leader remains Raffaele Marciello. But is he going to be under real threat before long from Pascal Wehrlein? The gap came down last time. In Sector 1, it extended. In Sector 2, it has come down. Wehrlein judging how he needs to drive the car against Marciello ahead of him. It's up to Marciello to discover where all the puddles are and where the grip is. And Wehrlein hunting him down now. Will Buller, by the way, continues to be a hero in this because he is now quicker than anybody in Sector 1. He's not lapping as quickly as the leaders in Sector 2, but what he is doing is catching Felix Rosenqvist now. He's 3.4 seconds back, but last time he took half a second out of him, so Buller should be able to make up more places before the end. It's a replay of Raffaele Marciello slithering his way into the chicane. He's still trying as hard as he can, and Pascal Wehrlein is quicker again. The gap, 0.8 of a second coming over the line. That time around, he's half a second faster. A 2:10 from Marciello, a 2 minutes 9.6 for Wehrlein, so 8/10 it was over the timing line. It's game on between these two for the race lead as they go right and then left through the chicane. Tom Blomqvist is third, and up to fourth has now come Felix Rosenqvist. That puts Harry Tincknell down to fifth, and he's being reeled in by Will Buller, like he was at the end of yesterday's race in the dry. So the gap was down between the top two, but now it looks as though Marciello is trying to stretch that once again. Pascal Wehrlein, the fastest man on the circuit. They're up towards the end of Sector 1 now on lap number 10. And indeed, Marciello responds. He's very good on that first third of the lap, but you can see how close Wehrlein is under braking. Marciello having to be so careful as he puts down the power. The car twitching out of the chicane. Wehrlein pulls out, has a look where he's going, pulls back in again. Mücke Motorsport off the road again, and this time it looks for good. She's in the gravel, wheels spinning, and even though wet gravel compacts and sometimes you can drive out of it, not this time, I'm afraid. Mücke Motorsport, who has won here in a Mercedes Superstars touring car in the past, arrives backwards into the gravel, and that is the race run. There's also other cars spinning, you can see, and that, trying to identify, as the car rotates, looked like Spike Goddard to me, the Australian. We're also being told of a mechanical warning flag for Pipo Derani, the meatball flag, black and orange flag, for no rear light. It's a regulation that in the wet, the rear light has to be on, so it may well be, if the light can't be switched on from the cockpit, that a pit stop beckons for Pipo Derani to try and sort out the electrics. There is Spike Goddard, second year of Formula 3. He was in the national class in British last year, now steps up to the FIA European Championship. Mücke Motorsport, you've just seen sprint away. And have a guess who's gone quicker than anybody in the first third of this lap? Correct, Will Buller. So he continues to hunt down Harry Tincknell for fifth place. There is that meatball flag, ready for Pipo Derani this time. But if he can't do anything about it from the cockpit, which I very much doubt, it could be water in the electrics, of course, then he's going to have to come into the pit lane and compromise the race. Now, he is 12th. He's out of the points, actually. But there's always the possibility that people will drop off the road ahead of him and get him into the points. So, disappointingly for him, it looks as though he's going to end up being forced into the pit lane. We've got 8 3/4 minutes to go here at Monza. The leaders worked their way through the chicane. The gap was 0.8 of a second when they came over the line with, once again, Wehrlein matching the pace of Raffaele Marciello. The spray hanging in the air as Tom Blomqvist runs third, Felix Rosenqvist fourth, Harry Tincknell is fifth, and Will Buller is only 0.6 of a second behind him, and there they are. Tincknell comes into the chicane with Buller right up behind him, and it won't be long, surely, before Will Buller, the Northern Irishman, finds a way through. Let's see. Tincknell just ahead of him. They sprint out of the chicane. The drivers peering at that flashing red light ahead of them. And Harry Tincknell, the man from Exeter, driving for Carlin, running fifth. But for how much longer? More replays, more drama, more spins. Spike Goddard once again. And the Australian ex-Formula Ford racer sorts himself out. White flag to warn the drivers of a slow car that's rejoined, and Goddard it is. And that means that the two race leaders have become nose to tail. Marciello gets held up behind the recovering Goddard, and Wehrlein now he's right on his tail. They've not been this close since the start of the race. So where, if at all, does Wehrlein make his move as they sprint now towards the Variante Ascari? Loads of spray being kicked up by the leader's car. Marciello it is up front, and to the inside comes Wehrlein. He's going to go for the lead, and he gets the lead. Great stuff. Pascal Wehrlein goes through, coming into the Variante Ascari. He's done the hard work of catching and straight away makes his move on the inside, and there was nothing, seemingly, that Marciello could do to prevent that. Pascal Wehrlein with the car working very strongly indeed now, leads the race. Is he gapping Marciello straight away? Looks like he is. Down they come towards the Parabolica. 7 more minutes of the race to go. Marciello is trying to stay with him as best he can. Now, can he get a tow coming over the line and challenge at the first chicane? That's his best hope. If he can't, then I fear it's game over for him. Look at the way that Wehrlein is going, though, now. He is pulling away out of the Parabolica. Up over the line they come. Last lap, he was 0.8 back, and this time as they come through, he's 0.9 up on Marciello. Down towards the first chicane, and it does not look as though Raffaele Marciello is going to be able to get in the slipstream and therefore bring down the gap sufficiently, or can he? He's closing a little bit under braking, but if he brakes too late, he'll just skate off the road, and that's exactly what he's done. Over the curbs, back onto the road. He's a bit nearer, but he's also compromised his exit speed, and so Raffaele Marciello brakes too late and just slithers off the circuit. Pascal Wehrlein leads the way. Raffaele Marciello gave it his best shot. There you can see he just missed his braking point, didn't fight the car, lets it go up that softer escape road through the chicane, back onto the circuit, and now has to try and do that all over again. Somebody in a big, big drama at the chicane. That is Mans Grenhagen, who has rolled. He's ripped corners off the car, and Mans Grenhagen is out of the race, and that was because he has just launched himself over the back of Jordan Kinga. That is a monster of an accident. Over and over and over goes Mans Grenhagen. Here's another angle. The car absolutely flies as he launched himself over the back of Jordan King. And in the spray, I'm afraid things like that are inevitable in open-wheel single-seater racing. Here's another look. Terrifying as the car is airborne on arrival. Mans Grenhagen is okay. The safety car is on standby because there's going to be bits of Dallara on the road. We've got 5 minutes to go. Let's see what happens from here on in. The safety car boards are being readied. Raffaele Marciello behind Pascal Wehrlein. Safety car is on track. Safety car is on track, so the order is going to remain as it is now. And it could well be that we finish behind the safety car. There is the scene at the chicane. Cars on the grass, bits of bodywork on the road, other cars involved as well. So the safety car boards are out. The medical team go to make sure that all the drivers are okay. And with now less than 5 minutes to go, I'm half expecting to see an early checkered flag to this race, because I would find it hard to expect now that the race would be restarted in the remaining 4.5 minutes, but we shall see. Safety car boards are displayed, yellow flags are waved, and there you can see the scene down at the first corner. I'm just looking to see whether the car that's had its rear wing ripped off may have been Will Buller's car, because he was round about that group of cars. Just double check as they come over the line, because what we have now, I suspect, may well be the finishing order. Wehrlein ahead of Marciello, Blomqvist ahead of Rosenqvist, actually top 4. Harry Tincknell 5th, Alex Lynn is 6th, and of course it was behind Tincknell that it all kicked off. So now we have Felix Sarayes up to 7th ahead of Josh Hill 8th. Pipo Derani 9th, you see, I said it was worth him trying to get into the points, and that's Mitch Gilbert, who has stopped by the side of the road. And into the top 10 comes Sven Muller. So yes, Buller, King and Grenhagen are the drivers we have lost down at the first chicane. And even under the safety car, look, people are still driving in a silly fashion and getting onto the grass there as the marshals try and attend to drivers still in their cars. Will Buller, I think, a bit shaken by the mighty impact he would have had from behind him. So with 3 minutes still to go, I think the order I've just given you for the top 10 and those that are going to be in the points will be it. I can't see the race getting underway again in the remaining time, but the race director will keep his eye on this. So Pascal Wehrlein, it looks as though he's going to be the race winner. There is Will Buller, I'm pleased to see, out of the car. Will having needed a bit of attention because it was a big, big whack he got from behind, but Will is okay. He'll be a bit sore, a bit bruised, but the good news is he can walk away. Mans Grenhagen we'd seen get out of his car as well. There's the replay. Yes, Grenhagen, it was a sort of double launch, wasn't it? He went over the back of King and then, already half airborne, over the back of Will Buller's car as well. And that just gave him even more of a spring for that absolutely terrifying accident. One thing it does show is how strong and how safe a Dallara-built Formula 3 car is these days. But that is an absolute monster of an accident. So, drivers are okay. There's one more race to go for the teams. That's at just after 4 o'clock local time this afternoon. Hopefully, cars can be rebuilt, but I would have my doubts about Grenhagen's car after that. We'll wait and see. There's not a huge amount left of it. There you can see what was once a Dallara. Jordan King's car is a little bit more complete behind, and Will Buller's car with its rear wing ripped off. And I suspect it's also got some suspension damage. Okay, so 2 minutes of the race remain, and that is less than a lap time. So the next time after this, they'll do this lap. The next lap, as they come over the line, I would think, be the one they'll see the checkered flag, unless the flag comes out early this time, because there's effectively going to be no chance of a change in the order. So the cars, with now under 2 minutes to go, turn their way out of the Variante Ascari. This new order that promotes, as I was saying, Alex Lynn up into 6th, Felix Sarayes to 7th, Josh Hill, 8th. Good result, actually, potentially this for Josh after yesterday when he had some damage from an incident at the first chicane and needed to pit and have a new wing on the car. So the son of Damon Hill, Formula 1 world champion, running 8th, Pipo Derani 9th. Now, I don't think he ever came into the pit lane with that black and orange flag, did he? And therefore, that might have a question mark over it, that 9th place and 2 points for which he potentially would score. 10th at the moment is Sven Muller. The one who is outside the points in 11th is Dennis van der Laar. But if anything happens post-race about Durrani and the black and orange flag, then he might find himself promoted. We'll wait and find out. Behind him, running 12th is Jan Mardenbroek, 13th is Antonio Giovinazzi, 14th is Eddie Cheever Jr., 15th Andre Rudersdorf, 16th is Nicholas Latifi, 17th is Sean Galile, 18th is Roy Nissany, whose father Chanak Nissany was once upon a time a Minardi test driver. 19th is Lucas Wolf, 20th is Gary Thompson, 21st is Sandro Zeller, 22nd is Dimitri Saranovic, 23rd is Tatiana Calderon, and 24th and now last is Spike Goddard after his assorted spins. This is the last lap. We've got 23 seconds of the race to go. So the order that we've been talking about is the way they're going to come over the line, and that's going to be your race situation. So Peter Mücke starting to celebrate already as the bedraggled fans who've had a rather frustrating experience watching Formula 3 today, but with safety car start. Some good racing while it ran, but then this big accident that's effectively brought the race to a premature close, even though the cars are still circulating, not with any legitimate overtaking. The Formula 3 Championship this weekend running alongside the World and European Touring Car Championships here at Monza. And on Friday, it was a glorious day. The sun shone, it was mild, it was perfect for motor racing. Yesterday, it was a bit grayer, but it was dry and it wasn't too chilly. Today is just horrible. It's been raining all morning, and this is the first race of the day. We've had warm-up sessions this morning for other championships, but this is the first actual race of the day, and I think teams from other championships as well are going to be, and race officials perhaps from other championships, having a long look at this just to see where the danger points are. There's some very powerful AutoGP single-seaters to race here as well this weekend, and they are also going to suffer in the conditions, partly because of the power and partly because of the visibility for drivers caused by the spray. But all that aside, the safety car will peel in at the end of this lap and the drivers will head towards the checkered flag. So Pascal Wehrlein, having got himself onto terms with Raffaele Marciello for the race lead, made that pass. And Marciello didn't put up a huge fight. Whether he was caught napping or whether he just felt it was prudent in these conditions not to be too aggressive and just take the points for second place, maybe we'll find out post-race when the drivers go to the press conference. But either way, Pascal Wehrlein, in this his last weekend of Formula 3 before he goes to the DTM, looks as though he's on target for a race win, barring a disaster now with just effectively one long corner to go. Mücke Motorsport has committed that it will run this car, albeit for a different driver, for the remaining rounds of the championship. Silverstone will be the next meeting. 3 races in the UK, then it goes to Hockenheim and then back to Britain because the cars will go to the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit over the weekend of the 19th and 20th of May, supporting the DTM. Many of the rounds with the DTM, not all. And the lights are out on top of the safety car, so it will peel in and the drivers will be allowed to sprint up towards the timing line. And there, the checkered flag will wave and round 2 of the championship will be completed, with Pascal Wehrlein, the man leading the cars through the Parabolica. Behind him, Raffaele Marciello. Behind him, Tom Blomqvist. And the cars now accelerate towards the checkered flag. And it waves at Pascal Wehrlein to win round 2 of the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. He comes across the line to win by, for what it's worth, under the safety car, 2.5 seconds from Raffaele Marciello. Tom Blomqvist onto the podium for 3rd, ahead of Felix Rosenqvist 4th, Harry Tinknell 5th, Alex Lynn 6th, Felix Sarayas 7th, 8th Josh Hill 9th, provisionally Pipo Durrani, and 10th Sven Muller. So